Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews in Washington. Let me start tonight with last night's tar and feathering of Eric Cantor. Here's a guy who was playing the game brilliantly, heading to the top, cruising to success, riding the right-wing wave, a surfer in a three-piece suit. He should have remembered what Jack Kennedy said about those who ride the tiger. They end up in his mouth. And that's exactly where Eric Cantor, the lame duck leader, now resides, in the belly of the beast, the well-basted main course at the Tea Party. What's it all about? What's this mean to politicians generally? Is it good news for anyone left, right, or center? Cantor's defeat? Except for those like Nancy Pelosi who don't mind seeing their partisan rival take a loss. Does anyone think this anger in the outskirts of Richmond, Virginia, isn't going to show itself this November when this rolling thunderclap of anger against big-shot Republicans will hit Democrats broadside? Well, tonight we look at what it means to progressives, to hard-right conservatives, and, of course, to the 2016 presidential election. How's Jeb taking the news from Virginia? How's Chris Christie? How's Rubio? Does anyone think this vote against government debt and failed immigration policy is good news for this crowd? Do they? Let's find out what happened. And what, more importantly, how the politicians feel about it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how they're going to take it. Chuck Todd's an expert. He's NBC's political director and chief White House correspondent, as well as the host of the Daily Rundown here on MSNBC, of course. And Howard Fineman is the chief political guy at the Huffington Post, director of all politics and all coverage thereof at that media group. By the way, former U.S. Congressman Vin Weber called this thing an earthquake. Cantor's stunning defeat seems to catch the entire political world by shock last night when he lost that primary, including, it seems, Cantor himself. His own internal polling had him winning by 34 points in Virginia last night in that primary. Instead, he lost to economics professor David Bratt by 11 points. Or according to the Washington Post, as late as Tuesday morning, Cantor had felt so confident of victory in that primary that he spent the morning at Starbucks up on Capitol Hill holding a fundraising meeting with lobbyists. But the results came in quickly last night, and today at a press conference, Cantor said he would step down, he will step down as majority leader at the end of this July. That's next month. He also included a note of compromise in Washington.
I think that this town should be about trying to strike common ground. I've always said it's better if we can agree to disagree, but find in areas which we can produce results. And I've said this before, Nancy, I've talked about my wife and I, almost now married 25 years, and believe me, we don't agree on everything. We have managed to raise our family, have a wonderful marriage. She has stood by me throughout this public office stuff and been a strong advocate for me, and not always believing in everything that I believe in, but we've managed to raise our family and do well. I don't think that's too unlike life. I don't think it's too unlike the legislative arena, and I think more of that could probably be helpful.
You know, Chuck Todd and Howard Fineman being political experts, isn't it wonderful why the country now has to watch a guy convert himself from U.S. congressman to lobbyist in a matter of 5 minutes? This is what they hate about Washington. What they see here happening. Build a lot of relationships with lobbyists. When you leave office, whether the voters kick you out or whatever, move right into powerful positions. Anyway, let's get to the noise level of this election.
Someone's going to be shocked if he ends up with a case.
Oh, yeah, some institute. Anyway, here's my question. The noise you hear today from the political world, I hear a lot of noise.
Hey, look, it's nervousness, it's the immigration panic with Republicans basically realizing they can't deal with it now. It's going to be sitting there in 2016, and this demographic time bomb that frankly went off in 2012, right? It went off, and that's among the reasons why Romney had no shot at Obama.
But they do not like illegal immigration.
They can't figure out how to do it.
They don't like it, period. They don't want to help the people who are here, or they don't want to be less than the first leader of the leadership of either party, of either house, that I've ever heard of losing a primary. Anyway, here's what the guy who beat him said. He said he supported amnesty. And you interviewed Brad today. By the way, here's something from that. You asked him whether he thought his election was about immigration. He skirted it a little bit. Here he is.
Immigration is a part of that aspect, but I ran on the fiscal issues and the Republican creed, which starts off with the main thing I'm interested in, and that's a commitment to free markets. Amnesty at the end was a clear differentiator between myself and Eric Cantor. And so, but it fits into the whole narrative, and it also fits into the narrative that Eric just has not been present in the district, and he was out of touch in supporting, the chamber agenda on that one instead of, I was door knocking. I know what's on the mind of the folks.
Howard, I have a sense out here. First of all, I believe in the voter, and I believe the voters vote voluntarily. The only people that vote are the ones who want to vote. So you got to count each voter seriously, whether it's the west side of New York or it's somewhere out in Iowa somewhere, or in Virginia. These votes count. They represent personal passion on the part of people, not group passion, personal passion. People out there who voted last night in Virginia are really ticked off, it seems to me, government debt, government spending, government overregulation, and especially what bites them in the butt. They think that they're selling out the country with this illegal immigration thing. They believe that people like Cantor are too damn soft. Now, my question to you, Howard, is why did he skirt that thing on immigration? Why did he just say I won on the immigration? Is he embarrassed that he played ethnic politics and he didn't play fiscal politics? Why did he sort of skirt Chuck's question? And he clearly did.
Well, because I actually think, Chris, that even though immigration is important, and I think in this particular election it was important, the larger sense I get of this and the big takeaway from this is the absolutely vicious antagonism that voters in the country, all across the country, in both parties have towards Washington. And it's become the kind of city where when television, when Netflix puts on an utter attack on Washington in the form of the show House of Cards, people in Washington are so out of touch that they think it's cool. They think it's
it's a great
funny.
Point. I completely agree.
They think it's funny.
Right. It's a shot at us.
The city is completely out to lunch, and almost literally out to lunch, or the steakhouse in the case of Eric Cantor.
Tell me why you said steakhouse, because it's a great number.
Well, it's because $30,000 on events at steakhouses, which is more than Dave Brat spent on his entire media budget, indeed practically his entire campaign.
Okay, give me the image of what goes on at those steakhouses. Give me the picture for the voters out there who haven't been to Washington. Lobbyists crowding around you. Yeah. The guys usually eating up big steaks with bibs on.
They're sawing the big steak, and they're deciding to block the bill that a lot of its proponents think would help real people in the real America who can't afford a 25-ounce, slab of meat at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. They can't.
I think they're working at a higher price place like Charlie Palmer's or something.
Well, but it is.
But they go to these steakhouses. I remember years ago going to these things at dinner. Remember Congress was sitting there, 15 lobbyists sitting around him, serenading him with how great he is. That's called a dinner.
It goes back to Marty Kaplan, man. The guy wrote the best portrayal, and everybody thought it was a
Distinguished Gentleman.
Yeah, Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy. And every time I watch that movie, the more and more correct you realize that this is the longer you're
Let's head out to Morton's tonight.
But this does go, this anger that's out there, this anti-Washington thing. Look, I talked to a bunch of people on Capitol Hill today, from Tea Party conservatives to liberal Democrats, and all of them are actually reacting the way they should be reacting.
With his challenge to the Tea Party hero of the day, Dave Brat. First of all, congratulations on your upset victory of Eric Cantor in Virginia. Second, let me challenge you on something you said to my colleague, Chuck Todd, this morning. Chuck asked whether you believed in a federally mandated minimum wage. You answered by saying that wages could only keep up with productivity gains. You said that only increases in productivity, what a worker gets done on the job, could be a market justification for a higher income. So I had someone check the numbers. You having a PhD in economics will recognize just what I'm doing here. You talked about the need for a long-term graph to show the increases in worker productivity, presumably what a worker is worth paying, to the increases in actual wages over time. Well, I did just that. And this graph was produced by the Economic Policy Institute. It shows the rising growth in productivity. It's the bold line there, going up almost 250% since 1950. And then actual wages, that's the lighter line, growing just a bit over 100% over that period since 1950. Well, you see the problem, Dr. Brat. The problem is you're wrong. The correct answer here is that productivity has grown 2.5 times as fast as wages, or if you want to put it this way, wages have only grown about half the rate, or less than that actually, than worker productivity. So I need to take you to a retest now on what you told Chuck Todd this morning. Don't you agree? Again, I congratulate you on your victory. Now, about that retest.